Hello and very good evening to all our viewers. This is Beyond Volatile. I'm Sumit Chaturvedi. Let's see what is making headlines in the world of business this evening. In the signs of increasing focus of electric car makers in Asia, reports say Tesla has reached an agreement to open a factory in Shanghai, China. Another news from Indian automotive world, Toyota stops production of hybrid car Camry in India after new goods and services tax and says that impacts demand for such cars. And Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's convincing election victory lifted Nikkei to its highest level in 21 years. Now, starting with the top global story, in the signs of increasing focus of electric car makers in Asia, reports say Tesla has reached an agreement to open a factory in Shanghai, China. Earlier also, Tesla said it had grand ambitions for increasing its market share in China. Reports say Tesla is working with Shanghai municipal government to explore the possibility of establishing a manufacturing facility in Shanghai region to serve Chinese market. The Wall Street Journal specified that any future factory would be set up in Shanghai's free trade zone and Tesla vehicles would still be subject to an import tariff of 25%. And this means that Tesla is increasing focus, especially on Asia, including China and India. This factory would be set up in Shanghai's free trade zone and vehicles will still be subject to an import tariff of 25%. Let's take a look at the Chinese EV market. China has 200 million electric two-wheelers and 4 million electric vehicles. But having a nearby factory could help company Tesla reduce transportation costs and give the company more immediate access to Chinese supply chain. It could also help it have favor with Chinese governments, which has indicated that it might impose aggressive policies to favor electric vehicles over internal combustion engine in cars in future. China already has the most electric passenger vehicles in the world. In 2016, more than 40% of all the electric vehicles sold globally were sold in China. China already has 200 million electric vehicles, two-wheelers and 3 to 4 million low-speed electric buses and more than electric minibuses too. This solves manufacturing issues and it has become a critical component of Tesla's business in recent years. Tesla recently launched Model 3 that had a disappointing initial quarter due to inability to meet demand, which Tesla blamed on manufacturing subsystems taking longer to activate than expected. Let's move over to Iraq, where to make up for a shortfall from the northern Kirkuk field, Iraq said it was increasing oil exports from the southern Basra region by 200,000 barrels per day. Output from Kirkuk fell this week when Iraqi forces took back control of oil fields from Kurdish fighters who had been there since 2014. The increase in Basra exports did keep Iraq's total output within the quota agreed with OPEC, which is Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Now, earlier, an oil ministry official said Iraq would not be able to restore Kirkuk's oil output to last week's levels before coming Sunday because of missing equipment at two of largest fields of the region, Havana and Bahassan. Now, until the shutdown, the northern oil region exported about 530,000 barrels per day, of which about half came from semi-autonomous Kurdistan region and rest from disputed Kirkuk province, claimed by both Kurds and Iraqi central authorities. And at a time when the whole world is looking at China for crucial announcements, China's unemployment rate has hit its lowest point in multiple years at 3.95% by the end of last month. But employment still faces challenges as the economy pushes ahead with structural reforms. China is facing low unemployment rate in the face of an overall slowdown in the economy, and it is largely due to new internet economy and entrepreneurship. China will also actively support startups to help them thrive from 2015 to 2020. Now, every 1% increase in China's GDP is expected to equal roughly 1.8 million new jobs. The Labour Ministry's announcement was made as part of once ever 5 years Congress of the ruling Communist Party, which opened last Wednesday and runs until Tuesday. Now, at the Congress, the party sets broad policy directions and reshuffles top leaders. As China's economy slows, Beijing has made increasing efforts to stave off mass unemployment that may spark social unrest. Moving over to UK, where in signs of growing concerns for the UK economy, the number of profit warnings issued by British companies has jumped to 75 in the third quarter, the biggest quarterly rise in almost 6 years, as economic pressures weighed on retailers and support service companies. Business Services Group EY said on Sunday the spike came straight after one of the biggest falls recorded in the previous quarter, when there were 45 warnings, and is significantly ahead of average of 62 in the third quarter. While retailer Dixons, Carphone and construction and support service firm Cadleon were two of the biggest companies to warn in the period. The warnings have showed no sign of slowing in October, with park operator Merlin Entertainments, engineer GKN Workspace and other support services company Interserve all downgrading forecast. And the news from Indian auto space, where the new goods and services tax has been applied from 1st of July, but now it has impacted the high demand of cars such as hybrid cars in India. Now, as a result, Toyota Kirloskar has stopped producing its popular hybrid Camry at its manufacturing plant in Bengaluru. It's already selling Prius, which we are showing to you in India. This will continue to be sold, but Camry production has been stopped. Camry was previously in heavy demand, but sales fell significantly after GST rate of 28% and another cess of 15% that led to a sharp increase in prices from Rs 32 lakh to Rs 38 lakh. Now, car sales witnessed a 73% drop comparing to the previous year. According to reports, Bengaluru assembly line of Toyota Motors stopped producing Camry at the end of September. As of now, Camry is still being sold as cars inventories haven't completely dried up. Toyota is now planning to introduce a new wide range of hybrids in India that will accommodate the new tax regime. Earlier, Karnataka's Industries Minister said that Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has been requested to levy the same GST rate on hybrid and electric cars. As of now, electric cars attract 12% GST rate. Camry is a strong hybrid which can run in purely electric mode, while a mild hybrid cannot. Currently, Toyota has 34 hybrid models in India. And let's discuss more on this with our auto expert this evening, Murad Ali Beg, who is joining us from New Delhi. Good evening, Mr. Beg. And today we saw finally Toyota saying goodbye to its Camry car. So you have seen all that when the Honda Civic Hybrid came, then Camry became popular. But what is problem with overall hybrid cars in India apart from the price?
Well, price is a major factor, but the price is also greatly impacted by a multiplicity of taxes. It's not only the GST or the excise duty as it used to be earlier. There's also duties on the imported packs. Now, therefore, the multiple effect of all these in the past has made the electric cars, at least which depend on a large number of imported ion lithium batteries, and depend on the special electric motors, which are all imported, and therefore these become extremely expensive. And therefore, in a fully hybrid vehicle like the Prius, the impact is huge, and even for a mildly hybrid car like the Camry, the impact is still very large.
And Mr. Beg, but we saw when Honda launched its Civics Hybrid at just at 20 lakh rupees, that was cheaper. But when Honda couldn't do anything with the hybrid car, it had to sell it for 11 lakh rupees. So overall, do you think is only the the taxes are a problem, or the overall perception of hybrid cars is a problem? That's why they are not popular in India.
Well, there are three things. First and most important is the government's attitude. Now, see, China had become very, very conscious some time ago that the pollution was a very, very serious problem, and they took out all the stops and just did everything possible to reduce their pollution. The government policy, therefore, is a major factor. The second factor is, again, that at the moment, the use of hybrid cars in India is mostly a kind of status symbol for somebody who wants to show that, look what a good guy I am. I'm being eco-friendly by having a hybrid car. But in actual fact, as far as public perception is concerned, if I have a hybrid car, I'm just being an idealistic fool. It's not yet become a popular thing. It's not been promoted in a big way so that a large number of people use it. Now, in the government policy, there's also another important point, and that is that all electric and hybrid cars, the electric charge, the battery has a limited battery life. Now, therefore, recharge points are very important, both for full electric and for hybrids as well. Now, in central London, for example, electric and hybrid cars are allowed without the congestion tax. Now, and wherever they park, the parking is free. At the parking meters, there's also an electric point where they can get a recharge. So therefore, central London has a lot of electric and hybrid cars because it makes very good economical sense. Now, if you don't have a charging point, mind you, charging is quite easy, but if you're in the middle of the town, you can't just go to a neighboring shopkeeper and say, excuse me, sir, may I take some electricity from your shop? Or a householder and ask the same question. It's not very convenient, and therefore people feel nervous because they know that they have a range of, say, 80 or 120 kilometers, and if they've got a long journey, by some chance, they don't feel very secure at the idea that their battery may run out.
So, Mr. Baig, I would like to again ask you one last question. What is the future of hybrid cars in India after first the Honda Civic Hybrid? It was clearly forced because people were not buying it. It had to shut its shop. Now, Camry was very popular. Now it's also going out of production. Should we say that the future of hybrid cars is over in India?
It was not very popular. It was selling. It was selling in sufficient volumes to justify its continuation. The answer is very simple. Hybrid and cars will be extremely successful in India, provided the government gives them a complete tax holiday. There's no point giving them a reduction from GST from 28 to 12 or from 12 to 6 or whatever it is. They should, for maybe a period of 2 or 3 years, give a complete tax holiday so that there is no taxes at all on something that's economically and ecologically beneficial. After 2 or 3 years, once the popularity of hybrids pick up, then the government can charge a reasonable tax on it. That's fine. The government has the right to charge a reasonable tax. There's no problem with that. And people will happily pay that. But first, there has to be a conviction that the vehicle is a viable product. And at present moment, it's not. But I can certainly say that if the government were to do that, of course, there are other things the government might also do. Provide facilities in some of the major cities for charge points or charging facilities, or have places where they can have, let's say, on a lamppost in a car park where cars can line up and pay a small fee to get their things charged. It would give a tremendous security. There are a dozen initiatives that can be done. But first is the fact that all the taxes have to be reduced drastically. The price has to come down, and if the price is made reasonable and people feel that there's a long-term prospect that these cars will be good, it will certainly be popular.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Baig, for joining us and getting us all these details and this important perspective on this story. Finally, Toyota is saying bye to its hybrid Camry, which was once a popular car in India, but because of GST and other cesses, finally, our Camry production has been stopped. Moving on, but staying with Toyota, where Toyota Motor will suspend its operations in its home country, Japan, because of a typhoon that has hit Japan. Well, these plants will be shut from Monday as a precautionary measure as a powerful typhoon has approached Japan's mainland. Tens of thousands of people across Japan have been advised to evacuate their places, and hundreds of flights have been cancelled and rail services disrupted. Heavy rain and winds have lashed a wide swathe of the country. Experts say the typhoon is going to cost Japanese economy nearly about $25 billion to $35 billion in damage. That's what is the overall estimate as far as this typhoon damage is concerned. And London has introduced a tax on most polluting vehicles in an effort to improve air quality in the British capital. The £10 tax, which is called the T-charge, will apply to diesel and petrol vehicles which do not conform to Euro 4 standards. According to London Mayor Sadiq Khan, the tax will apply during same 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekday hours as the existing £11.5 congestion tax. The new charge means that some car owners will be forced to shell out a combined £21 a day to drive in central London. London Mayor Sadiq Khan said the city now has the world's toughest emission standards, and the T-charge is a steep stepping stone to the ultra-low emission zone, which is likely to be implemented as early as 2019. The measure comes after Britain's High Court rapped the British government for failing to control air pollution in compliance with EU norms on nitrogen oxide limits. And in a move to reduce the burden on small and medium businesses after introduction of GST, Indian government may be planning a complete overhaul of tax rates. Revenue Secretary Hansmukh Adhia has said that complete overhaul of rates to reduce the burden on SMEs is possible. In an interview to PTI, he said goods and services tax, which amalgamate more than a dozen central and state levies like excise duties, service tax and VAT, will take about a year to stabilize, nearly 4 months since its introduction. The new indirect tax threw up teething troubles and compliance issues, which GST Council, highest decision-making body of new regime, has addressed through several rounds of changes to ease hassles facing medium and small businesses in paying taxes and filing GST returns. And let's go over to markets, where markets in India and overall world, especially in Asia, have been in green throughout the day today. But let's look what are the factors that should be watched out for as far as Indian markets are concerned this week. First, Q2 earnings of Infosys and top banks will be in focus this week. Infosys is going to announce the quarter second earnings tomorrow. Overall earnings season will also be closely watched. And HDFC Bank, Yes Bank, ICICI, Maruti Suzuki, IOC, ITC, these earnings will be watched this week. Full impact of new GST system will be reflected in this week's earning. And this full impact of this GST system is going to be really visible only in this quarterly, we can say that, result season. But in Japan, there's victory for Abenomics, and world stocks have touched new record highs after victory of Shinzo Abe in Japan. Well, that has rallied Nikkei to almost a 2-decade high. Well, that is one of the big, we can say that, points of today. Nikkei has touched record highs today. Japanese shares have jumped as a result of Shinzo Abe coming back to power. In India, Sensex and Nifty both ended in green, and Japan's Nikkei raised up 1.1%. Well, this week, FIs have sold shares worth 43.74 crore, and this data is important to gauge the future. Domestic institutional investors, they have bought 40 crore worth rupees of shares. Mahura trading, it didn't go well as the way investors had wanted. This will be reflected in the current week. And we are joined by Mr. Prabhakar, A.K. Prabhakar, our market expert for this evening. Good evening to Mr. Prabhakar. How long do you see this positive sentiment generated by Mr. Abe's victory in Japan will continue in Indian market too?
Good evening. See, now Indian market is behaving differently from the global market. So there is pressure due to post-Axis Bank result where banking is not performing, whereas IT and Reliance is taking the lead. So I think oil and gas sector and IT will start to lead from here. But we have important results this week. We have Infosys, we have HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, and these will be the trigger point for Indian market. So no, it depends on how these results pan well. But if there is a disappointment similar to Axis Bank, then banking has 33% weightage in our index can have some pressure. But I don't think so. Now it is one now for Axis Bank, and the other banks should post a reasonable result. So going forward, we are bullish on the market. 10,500 to 11,000 can be a possible target on Nifty in the next 2 to 3 months.
And clearly, all eyes are on result season beginning maybe tomorrow. Big results, Infosys announcements will come tomorrow. What is your estimate as far as the Q2 results of corporate season in India is concerned, beginning with a big name Infosys tomorrow?
See, if you see all the 3 IT stocks which have come, there is a margin expansion. Cyient came with a margin expansion of 200 basis points and followed by TCS at 1.6 and Persistent at 1.2. So there can be a margin expansion, but in Infosys case, now it is not about the growth. Now it is about who is going to be the next CEO. So that is what the market or the street is now want to hear from the new chairman. So no, it is more important who will lead the company and not the result. So no, result is something the market is not too anxious on Infosys alone.
All right, thank you, Mr. Prabhakar, for talking to us and getting us all these details. We were talking to our guest for this evening, Mr. A.K. Prabhakar, and as we told the viewers, that markets across the globe have touched record highs, especially after Shinzo Abe came back to head Japan as PM.